evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rock and Horror Popcast Show. As always, I'm your host, Rob Nicholson, here in Hopatcong, New Jersey, sitting in the Horror Den, Studio 217. And tonight, as part 3 of the Creating Happiness series, I am bringing on, and I will read his intro from his TikTok page, okay? Teacher, father, traveler, writer, self-professed male model, and self-professed inventor of the semicolon. Now, the self-professed stuff wasn't there. He has over 400,000 followers, and his videos have been liked over 11 million times. I am so happy to welcome in one of my favorite TikTok personalities, Jason. Jason, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. And thank you for having me.
About 15 years ago, there was a YouTube video that was the dramatic reading of a breakup letter. I'll be back in time.
I hate you, and also, guess what? My mother hates you too, that she the one who put me up to this. You come to breakfast every morning, and I ain't stupid. You try to sit next to me, and my little bro, who only 7 years old, hates you too, and don't even know what you did, and is always blocking your chair. Ha ha!
And that's all it was. It was just this guy that read this letter. And I don't know that I had ever laughed so hard in my life up to that point. It was such a simplistic idea. The original video was like 3.5 million times, but I'm sure that that number is quadrupled or quintupled or even more. I remember sitting there probably close to a year ago, maybe a little bit after that. And I'm falling into my TikTok rabbit hole, as my listeners have heard me say a couple times. All of a sudden, I see your shining face. You are doing this dramatic reading of just stuff, whether it was a sign, or a price tag, billboard, whatever it was. You were nailing it. And it was absolutely hilarious. I've learned a lot about you through your videos. I've watched your travels through your videos. You've been very informative. You're a huge Star Trek fan. You're at least a fan of the Orville somewhat.
Somewhat, yes. It's gotten better. I will say that, yes.
Where does your TikTok journey, and I've asked this question of everybody that I've had on, where does your TikTok journey begin?
Well, my TikTok journey began shortly before the pandemic went into white hot, mask up, get in your house and don't come out mode. I was getting ready to go on a trip to Japan, which is where I've always wanted to go. And as 2020, that gigantic cluster fudge of a year went on, I started to realize, well, I don't think that this is going to happen. And that was one of the things I wanted to do. Was I wanted to start a YouTube channel and start, making travel videos, because I really enjoy watching those. That, of course, went down the tubes, and I just, out of boredom one day, thought, I'm going to go look at this TikTok-y thing that my students are always talking about. So I downloaded it, started watching some things, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to put up some stuff on here. And my children and I took a very ill-advised trip during the pandemic to Kentucky, and I made a video about a transparent bathroom in Silver Springs, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bathroom that it looks like a big mirror on the outside, but if you go inside, it's completely transparent. You can see out, but nobody can see in. I thought, well, this is a lot easier to use than YouTube, and I'm incredibly lazy, so maybe I can start doing travel videos here. And surely this pandemic won't last another couple of weeks. And then, years later, it's still going. Still can't go to Japan.
5 years later.
5 years later. It's one of my favorite recurring gags to do on TikTok. I don't do it nearly enough. So it never really took off. I had maybe 100 followers, I think. And then one day I'm on Facebook for some reason, because I hate myself. And I go to our local news channel, and there's this fella on there, and his name, I don't really want to say his name, but let's just call him John Scream, because if he watches this, he'll know who he is.
Okay.
But John's screen is just, he has the most awkward backwards opinions, and he cannot spell anything correctly. He never uses punctuation. Basically, just, and his profile picture looks exactly how you'd think he would.
Sure.
But he had made some, I made a comment on something, and it was something about the election, I think. And he came back talking about, oh, bummer, oh, Biden, and I just thought, oh my gosh, reading this out loud is the funniest thing ever. I should do a TikTok, because I was literally in my mother's car. She went to go get groceries.
Okay.
And I was just sitting there in the car because I wasn't feeling well or something. And I just started reading it out loud and making myself laugh. So I just recorded myself reading it, and that one just kind of took off. So I did it again, and it was the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started reading stuff from Clay the True American, who is I can say his name because he's a public figure.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually out of Big Spring, which is like 42 miles from here. And his stuff is almost as ridiculously, dumb as John Yell's. And I started reading his stuff, and then it just slowly started picking up. And then one day a video just exploded. And next thing I know, I had 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. And I had students who I'd had 4 or 5 years ago contacted me over Facebook or Instagram going, Mr. Gaston, did you know that you're famous now? Like, of course I am. Look at me.
Anything different? Well, these kids, it's the old adage about going outside and going to the grocery store and bumping into your teacher in the grocery store. Now these kids are like, oh my God, my teacher's on TikTok. And some of them are like, I had him 4 years ago. And some of them are like, he's my teacher now.
I actually have students that I had, well, they're not students anymore. They're in their 30s, but I have students that I had, 10, 15 years ago who will, who will write me over TikTok, do a video like, were you my teacher? You look like my teacher. And I'm like, hey, Janae, how are you? Oh my God! Yes,
exactly. I was elected to the Board of Education here in Opatcong back in 2014, and going back and seeing teachers that I had. I graduated 30 years ago, I think. Maybe even tonight, going back and seeing some of the teachers that I had was a trip. I had to really call them by their first names, which was just a strange thing to me. I'm like, these people, I thought like literally they were vapor planed as soon as I went out of high school. They just don't exist. And I remember as a kid, like you would go into Kmart or whatever, and you would see a teacher there and you'd just be mortified. It was just
That's always my favorite question. Mr. Gaston, what are you doing here? I'm buying food so I don't die, dummy.
Right. I need sustenance. Thank you. Thank you. Why are you here? You blew up rather quickly. There's a likability factor that comes with you and a genuineness that comes with you that I don't think, like if all you did was dramatic readings, period, that would be fine. But you add so many other things into it. You add your travel stuff, you add Star Trek stuff. And like I said before, I actually say Star Trek, Trek, not track. I've heard Star Trek.
I do appreciate that. Yes. That's what's keeping me on the Zoom call right now.
Right. I went to go see Star Trek, the original motion picture, because you have to say the full title. You're not allowed to say it any other way.
Yes.
With my father. And so what was that? 77?
1977. Yes, I was. No, 1979. 1979. Okay. I was 3 years old.
I was 5.
Oh, my goodness.
And I remember, what I remember about the movie? I fell asleep.
Yes, I do that every time I watch it.
I fell asleep.
We call it Star Trek, the motion sickness.
Yes. And
or Star Trek, the, oh gosh, what did they say? Star Trek, the unmoving picture. There we go.
The unmoving picture. Okay.
But honestly, if you sit down and watch it, it is good. It's just, it takes forever to get anywhere, but it is a good movie.
Right. I mean, I think the difference between the Star Trek and the Star Wars type movies are Star Wars, everything's blowing up.
Yes.
People are getting shot. Stormtroopers still don't know how to shoot after 40 years. It's an amazing thing. But yeah, that's the biggest thing that I remember about Star Trek is that I fell asleep. And then I remember Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and there was a earworm thing.
The SETI eel, yes.
And then there was Ricardo Montalban.
Ah, yes.
Who was no longer on Fantasy Island. He was
No, he had his
Fabio,
pecs out and he was out for revenge.
Right. It was like Fabio in space. And
I will chase him round the moons of Nebia and round perdition's flames before I give him up. He was so amazing in that movie. That was the first Star Trek I ever watched was Star Trek II.
Okay.
And I was hooked after that.
Khan!
Yes.
That. I'm a Halloween fan. And of course, the
yes.
Myers mask is none other than William Shatner's face painted white. Which
Absolutely,
is
yes.
a odd thing. Plus, I mean, he's in 2 of my favorite Twilight Zone episodes of all time, Nick of Time and Nightmare at 30,000 Feet.
Yes.
He's incredible. The only person that is a better William Shatner than William Shatner is Stewie, singing Rocket Man as William Shatner.
And I think it's gonna be a long, long time till touchdown brings me round again to find I'm not the man they think I am at home. Oh no, no, no. I'm a rocket man. Rocket man, burning out his fuse out here, alone.
I've actually met William Shatner, and everybody has such a, they have horror stories about meeting William Shatner. I took my children with me to go meet him, and they were all dressed up in costumes because it was a science fiction convention. And, I'm sitting there just going, please just don't be a jerk. You're my hero. Please just don't be a jerk. We get up there and he sees my children, and they're like little at that point. And his eyes just get really big and he goes, oh my goodness, look at you. Look at how cute you are. You are just so adorable. Are you having a good time? Are you having a good time? It is so wonderful to see all of you. And then we come back to get our picture with him the next day, and my kids walk in and his eyes go, he's like granddad. He's like, oh my goodness, you're back. It's the beautiful children and you're still in your costumes. That's just wonderful. So he was so great. So I don't have a Shatner horror story. He was just so wonderful to me and my kids.
See, that's good. I mean, when we meet these people, and obviously they're people.
Yes.
I mean,
we do days and bad days. Yes.
We do fanboy, we do fangirl. I can imagine that there's people out there that are walking through a store, they bump into you, or they pass you, and you hear whispers after they pass you. Hey, is that TikTok guy? I think that's and then the husband's going, that's not the TikTok guy. And then you get to say, hey, no, guess what? I am the TikTok guy.
That actually did happen to me once in the cutest way. I walked into a restaurant. And as I'm walking through the restaurant to go meet my party in the back, I hear this little kid, probably about 5, go, Mama, TikTok. And he's pointing at me. And she's going, no, shh. TikTok, Mama, TikTok. I kept walking because I was kind of freaked out because it was like one of the first times I'd ever been noticed and recognized. So I just kind of kept walking just straight ahead. They're not talking about me. They're not talking about me. And the little kid is still back there, Mama, TikTok. But in the years since, I think I've been recognized maybe 5 times out in the wild by people I didn't know. Twice in Disneyland this last trip. I got recognized in the line to the Matterhorn, and then I was actually filming one out at one of my TikToks out at Avengers Campus, and I just hear somebody go, Jason! And I'm da 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 da. They cannot be talking about me. Da da da. And then this guy just starts coming up.
Like, I don't know.
Are you filming one right now? Part of you kind of have that flight or fight response where you're just like, I'm either about to get mugged or I need to run right now.
Let me interrupt this commercial message because I have to tell you, as a horror fan, and the show is called the Rock and Horror Popcast Show, and it used to be called something else when I had a co-host, but that's another story for another time. But so we tend to concentrate on rock, horror, and pop culture. And I love the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So it just made sense one day in the car, just sitting there trying to figure out stuff in life. But the one thing, well, there's 2 things. One of the biggest things that Rob is scared of is clowns.
Yes.
And because this is a show that allows cursing, holy fuck. You and that damned hotel.
Welcome to the Clown Motel.
Okay? So it's not cool. When you open up a hotel, first of all, it's next to a cemetery. You walk in and there's, Pennywise on the wall. And listen, I love Stephen King and I love it. But with Tim Curry never scared me. It with him, no. It was, and that whole place, I was like, he's going to die. He's not going to be able to come on my show because he's really dead. I was so waiting to talk to you because it was just, you've made me laugh as hard as anything. And it's the voice. But where did you pick your voice?
That I was in radio for a very long time, and I had to do a bunch of different voices for production because we had such a limited staff and everybody was wanting different commercials. And so I had the regular radio voice that you would hear on the air all the time. You're listening to KKCN 103.1 San Angelo, 50 minutes of continuous country favorites and fun. And then I would have the serious commercial voice. 1 out of every 3 people suffer from some debilitating disease that probably ends with itis. If you would like some more information, please call 555-5555. And I don't know, it's just a lot of different voices. I would just use them. And as a teacher, I would use them as well, just to kind of keep kids' attention. I would do character voices as well. I was the resident Arnold Schwarzenegger and the resident Mickey Mouse. And so if anybody ever needed a voice like that, I just kind of kept them. I would work with dialects as well because I did a theater in college.
Okay.
And I've done community theater. I haven't done community theater in about 20 years though, because I moved to DFW and just didn't have time. And then, now I'm living here in the middle of nowhere and there's not we don't allow theater here.
It's like Footloose.
Yes. So I'm hoping that maybe I can get into it again in the fall if everything goes well again. And it'll be the first time I've been on stage in like 20 years.
Wow.
I miss doing it. And I miss getting up there and singing and dancing and, just being a general goofball in front of people. TikTok has helped though. It's helped kind of scratch that itch. So I'm very grateful that people are watching me and my stupid low effort content. It's nice.
It's such a simple idea.
Oh yes. Anything more complicated, I'd be too lazy to do it.
It's just a simple thing, but the rest of it, the behind the scenes stuff, the production, making sure that your content is all lined up correctly, deciding which days you want to post, how much do you want to post, how little do you want to post, dealing with comments and people that might be asking you for something or doing something, making sure your merch is all up to, snuff and everything that you need is there. People don't realize the work that goes on behind, the curtain, so to speak. I talk to you now. I'll talk to you for an hour and 15, whatever the total is. It's the 9, 10, 11 hours of post-production stuff that they don't see me doing.
Yes.
You just adjusted yourself. I might want to cut that out of the video. I have a signature, or my signature. When I'm looking at my audio, I can look and go, oh, there I said there I said oh, there's a
Same thing. Yep.
You go in and you're like, I'm slicing. Easy idea, simple idea, but you're still a creator. It's still at least a part-time job, if not for some of the people out there, a full-time job. All of this stuff is happening because just like Vine back in the day, and I go back to, I thought Vine was the stupidest idea in the world. I'm like, who wants to watch a 10-second video? But there was a creator out there called Thomas Sanders, and he did story time.
I follow Thomas Sanders. I admire Thomas Sanders. I think he's an incredible talent. Yes.
He's probably, when the final books are written, he is got to be the short form video, one of the pioneers.
Yes.
He's really that good. And I almost fell out of my chair when I was scrolling through TikTok one day and he finally popped on. And I was like, oh, Look,
I'm
he's
honestly
back.
kind of surprised that Thomas Sanders hasn't crossed over into mainstream yet, to be completely frank. I would have figured that somebody would have snatched him up by now, but who
Yeah,
knows? Maybe he doesn't want to do that. It could be.
and
I
it
don't
might
know.
be. He's
Yeah.
got the voice, he's got the looks, he's got the personality. He's really really good. But you know what? Who was another YouTube pioneer for me was Ray William Johnson.
Yes.
He was another big one, and I'm so glad that he found his way onto TikTok.
Me too. Yeah.
It's so good to see him and what he's doing now, which is basically shitting on shitheads. So it's phenomenal.
Which is pretty much what he did in the first place. But that's fine. He did it. He did it well. I follow him as well.
I always say, in my eyes, that if you don't like your job, nothing's going to be good. And even though I'm going to say my podcasting is more of a hobby over anything else. I did not start it to make money. I started it, and I've said this before, because people tell me I like to hear myself talk.
True.
I really don't, but whatever. I digress. Now, when you create, what goes in for you? How are you doing your post stuff? How are you deciding how many you want to be out there? How many are you putting out a day? That kind of thing. For all the creators out there or people that want to create.
Oh gosh, I am the world's worst if you're going to use me for a template. I have a thing that I always tell people whenever they tell me I should be doing something. My response is usually, I do what I want. I just do it when I can, whenever school is in session. That's usually, I do one whenever I get into the car before I go to work, and then I do one whenever I get out of work. And then if there's anything else going on that day that I kind of want to talk about, then I will talk about that. I usually try to do at least 3 a day.
Okay.
Because I heard somewhere that that's like the minimum that TikTok likes to keep your videos in the FYP. I would say more often than not, I hit that goal of doing at least 3. I try to do only 2 dramatic readings a day and then vary the rest of the content.
Right.
Thankfully, people kind of like what I have to say about television, so I've been doing that a lot more. I did the novelty, not novelty. I'm sorry. What's the word I'm looking for? Vintage. I did the vintage toys from the 80s for a while. I'm going to get back to doing that. I just kind of took a break for a little while. Star Trek ships. I like talking about those. I've kind of taken a break from that.
That's a great series.
If I get out of doing something as a habit, I kind of forget to do it.
Sure.
That's, my brain does not work like a normal person's does. But yeah, I just try to do anything that strikes me as interesting at the time. Now, if I had more time, I would probably do more scripted stuff that I have to edit. Mm-hmm. And I've got a couple of things that I shot while I was on my road trip that I'm going to edit. I just haven't done it yet. But I've got ideas for skits in my head that I would like to do. They don't usually get a lot of views, but it's things that I like to do. Because like I said, my channel is I do what I want.
Yep.
And if I want to do a short script, I will. My earliest stuff was all script based, and I thought it was brilliant. If I do say so myself. I had this one about, it was called Daddy, There's a Monster Under My Bed. And it was all variations of that theme. Daddy, there's a monster under my bed. And one of them, the daddy looks down there and comes back up. I didn't see a monster under there. There was just a big mirror. The little kid goes, I want to go live with mommy. Then there was another one where, the kid's like, Daddy, there's a monster under my bed. I'll check. And he gets under the bed and he puts a 5, goes, remember to do it whenever I'm gone. And he comes back up, good night. And he leaves. And then the last one I did, I loved it so much. It was a monster dad and a baby monster. And Daddy, and it was like demon talking. Father,
right,
there is a human under my bed. Your fear makes you weak. Would you please check for me, Father? Very well. I will check under your bed for this human.
Basically, what you just said is that creators create, and we create what we want to create. And you're not doing it necessarily for the likes, the loves, a sponsorship, whatever. You do it because you love to create, and you create things. I think we all create things because behind me, we're trying to create happiness, whether it's for ourselves, whether it's for somebody else, whether for the masses, whatever. You know, I think the people that aren't doing that, the people that are doing it just for likes, loves, money, it comes through in what they're creating.
Yes.
You know,
Don't want to name any names, Chelsea, but yeah, you can smell fakeness from some people.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I only said that one name because I absolutely despise her.
But you ever see the one where the guy's like, I don't know, he's selling socks on the side of the highway, and you know, somebody comes up to him and he's like, oh, you know, oh man, I forgot my wallet, you know, I really need a pair of socks for my daughter. And then the guy gives him the socks and he's like, I was just doing a video and you know, I wanted to see if someone would actually have a heart, so here's $5,000. And I watch that stuff and I'm like, I don't know. I hope it's real. I mean, it makes you feel good. They got the dramatic music playing behind it. They've got all this stuff going on. But there's part of it that, you know, I become so jaded by this race we call human that it's very, very hard sometimes to know what is real when it comes to stuff like that versus what isn't real. And you're right. You can smell fakeness from a bazillion miles away.
I'm not going to name this creator because I could be wrong, but there's a creator that I followed for a very long time. And the more that I watch his materials, the more I'm kind of recognizing that a lot of his stories that he tells are just so outlandish and unbelievable that I am starting to not believe them.
Okay.
Because he's got a crazy Karen neighbor, and this is like his second or third crazy Karen neighbor that he talks about, and they're always trying to buy hay and shove hay into small cars, and I'm just like, how often does this really happen to you? I could be wrong. I mean, he could be telling the truth, but it just, I don't know. There's no genuineness to it anymore.
Right.
And I do think that you're right. I think that it's just for the likes and for the clicks and for sponsorships and things like that. I don't monetize my channel. Every now and again, you know, like bargain boxes or something will say, hey, do you want a box of free stuff? And I'll go, yeah.
Give me free things.
Yeah, give me some free stuff. I'll take some free stuff. But you know, but I don't monetize it because I don't want it to turn into a job. It's a hobby. And you know, to be honest, the day that it stops being fun for me and the day that I open up TikTok and realize, oh, I don't want to do this anymore,
right,
that'll be the last you see of me until either, you know, the platform finally crashes or I decide I want my spark back, because I don't want it to be a job. I don't want it to be something that I don't look forward to doing.
Well, and this is another platform where we as adults, yes, have taken over and crushed the dreams of children everywhere.
Yes,
it happened with
isn't
Facebook,
it wonderful?
MySpace.
It's so wonderful to crush children's dreams.
By the way,
go do your Fortnite dances somewhere else. I hear that Facebook has something that you can use. Instagram apparently lets you do that stuff now, but TikTok is ours.
Because everybody needs to know Jason is a teacher.
Yes. Speaking of crushing children, yes.
But yeah, so we've taken over this platform. Hopefully it doesn't become a desolate, barren wasteland like MySpace did, full of really weird videos and things that you I went back and looked at my MySpace page from like, I don't know, when the hell was MySpace, around 20 years ago?
I think the last time I looked at my Facebook page was 2006, because it was actually my first year teaching.
Oh my God. I'm like, what the hell happened here?
My Facebook page is gone now. It's all been wiped out. So all that stuff is gone. So,
it's like driving through Route 66.
Yes. Except it's just not as charming.
Right. Exactly.
And sadder.
One of my, that's actually one of my big dreams is to Jack Kerouac life for, 3 weeks and go out on the real Route 66, which I found multiple maps online that show me exactly where I need to go.
Yes, I've been to a few of those places. Yes,
some of them make me think that I'm going to probably be killed by somebody from like Cabin Fever or something like that.
Sure. But, that's all part of the excitement.
Wrong Turn. That's the movie.
Yeah.
Wrong Turn.
Warning! 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 Warning!
The following segment of the Rock and Horror Podcast show contains political commentary which you may not find enjoyable. Host Rob does not want to force you to listen to anything you do not want to. Should you not want to hear any of the hilarity, in his opinion, that ensues, please skip to the 37-ish minute mark. Currently you are at the 30-minute mark. If you are driving, do not try and skip. It's not the end of the world. This concludes this warning. Do you feel as if you have been adequately warned? Well, I cannot help if you don't. I have done my job. I'm just a simple computer-generated voice. Do you understand how hard it is to be forced to say everything that is typed out on the screen? The horrors of what some people type. Dear Lord, does it get old? This isn't 1980 and I am not a speak and spell. You remember that toy? The one that people would type in words like BOOBS. Yeah, you were that person, weren't you? You were. I know. My aunt told me about you when you were in 4th grade. Well, I will not entertain it. Oh dear. I seem to have gone off on a tangent. Carry on with your day, and remember that my cousin is a calculator, so don't try and make her say bad words either. Stop the insanity. Computer-generated voices matter. Boobs. There. Are you happy?
But
Just look at, whenever they're coming at you with the knife, just, and you're running, just look back and go, MAGA! And they'll salute and pray, and, they'll give you a chance to get away.
I am Q. And then they stop and bow down to you. I actually, right before I got on
Biden
here,
cheated! He cheated by getting more votes!
we were so not ready for a black president. I'm sorry, God.
We
so
really
not ready.
weren't.
We just weren't. And, that's one of the first things I would actually say to Obama. I was like, we weren't ready for you. And I'm sorry. We just weren't ready for you. You've gone and ruined everything, Barack. But all I have to do is hear him talk again. And I just feel hope. Like, you could just read off a grocery list and I'd be like, oh my God, he's buying bananas. Things are going to change.
Eggs, milk. Michelle, see if they got any cheese.
And then Michelle's sitting there going, She's always got the look. And you could see Michelle giving that look to Brock quite a bit. But yeah, that's one of my big things is to do something like that. And I'm a documenter. Mark says in Rent, how do you document real life when real life's getting more like fiction each day? Now that was Jonathan Larson in 1995 when he first sat down and wrote that, the late Jonathan Larson. And it's true. I mean, real life is getting more like fiction each day. And it wasn't for me back in the 90s because I was fresh out of high school and, the world was my oyster. But today, I mean, really, after the past, even 5 years, because there's some weird shit going on now. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm looking at you. And no, I do not normally get political on the show, but you know what? I'm a very, very independent liberal. And I don't like the way that the world is going. I haven't for some time. But anyway, this is what can make or break a channel. And I'm glad that you have, 400,000 followers, because especially when you did how long ago was it? It wasn't that long ago. And the people were standing out there with the Trump sign. It was like,
Trump up.
There are flamers that come on and they're just trolling along and they're like, and all I see is the SpongeBob SquarePants, that look, whatever they call that. And that's what they sound like when they talk. Yes. So I'm watching this dramatic reading video by you and I'm dramatically reading the comments.
I did that for my 1000th one, and TikTok messed up the video so badly that it was almost unwatchable.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, because it was like a 3-minute video, and I was reading the best comments I'd ever gotten, and just the video just got so messed up by the editor, and I didn't know it until I'd already uploaded it, and then went back and checked it later, and I was like, what is wrong with this? This is my 1000th video, and TikTok messed it up.
Damn it! Have you been account warned or blocked or anything like that yet?
I have, but in the last year, I've had probably 24 videos taken down. 22 of them got put back up.
Okay.
One of them hasn't been put back up because, well, it's been an appeal since March.
Okay.
And it was a video in which somebody was saying horrible things about transgender people.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, you know what? Oh, he said something about he was a Trumper. He had a big Trump thing on his profile. Said something about, you know, transgender people just all need to be rounded up and everything like that. This guy, this Trumper, got on there and said something about, you know, after I said something about being a liberal, he said, well, you know, I hope one day you can get a dress and transition properly, you libtard. And so I made a video back saying, you know, it's awesome the way that you're, you know, trying to make me feel like less of a person by insinuating that I'm transgender, because I assure you, I would much rather be transgender than a Trump fan, because there's nothing wrong with being transgender. That got taken down for hateful behavior, hate speech, and bullying. It got a 3-fer. And that's all I said. And it was, you know, just responding to this guy. And TikTok has never looked at it again. They've never even considered it. I'm assuming they've never looked at it. I don't know.
It may be one of the reasons why I ultimately end up leaving Facebook at whatever point I choose to leave Facebook. But I've stopped, for the most part, being political on Facebook because all it does is lead to issues. Gina and I have a transgender nephew. His name is Sam. And I try not to even engage in a discussion until it comes to LGBTQ rights. In fact, right before I came on with you, there was a post where the New York Yankees, huge fan, changed their logo to a Yankee symbol with the entire flag on there. Mm-hmm. And the hateful comments that came out of the tri-state area were embarrassing, to say the least. And someone said, well, I'm sorry to see that the Yankees have, you know, pandered to this card. And I wrote back, and I may get reported, or I might, and this was just simple. And I've said stuff like this many times before that I have been reported for. I said, well, I'm sorry that you're actually a part of the human race. So you have a book that you wrote? I see that, yes, in your link tree?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
It is it's a space opera. It is called Starseeker: Baptism by Fire. And believe it or not, the idea for this book started gestating in my brain whenever I was in 8th grade, because I was a huge fan of Star Trek even back then, and I wanted to make my own Star Trek series. And as I grew older, I realized that's probably not going to happen. So I divorced the idea from Star Trek, and I started kind of developing it in my head further. And I came up with the idea of basically a UN in space, mm-hmm, that was created by the Earth, which I call them Space Force. And incidentally, I wrote this book in 2015 before there was an actual Space Force.
Hey, Steve Carell, hear that?
I am ready to go to court to back that up. But this is it's a big spaceship. It was made basically to be a weapon for war. The war ended, and it's set abandoned in this dock for 10 years. And then they came up with this idea like, hey, we don't want to have another war, so let's hollow this thing out and make it a floating, place where we can all get together and learn from each other. And so this is like the first spaceship that has humans and aliens living together. And so you have all these wildly different, disparate characters. And then the middle of it, because they wanted this project to fail, they put this old captain that they pull out of retirement, who lost his wife in the last war and who basically is racist towards aliens. But at the same time, his best friend is an alien, but he's one of the good ones because his best friend was raised on Earth.
Okay.
And so, there's a little bit of commentary right there. And it's the first episode, the first book, and there's not a second book yet, because I'm very, I don't ever do what I'm supposed to do. The first book is about an ancient weapon that's found in space, and they are tasked with going out and getting it before it can fall into the hands of a hostile alien government. and the hostile alien government, it basically is a religious theocracy that sees lying as divine, and they think that the best liars should be the best leaders. And I just had so much fun. I just had so much fun writing that, because there's so much commentary on politics today. And then you have another race, and for the life of me, I cannot remember what I called these people. Like I said, it's been like 7 years since I wrote this book, but they're basically the opposite. And they are a race that, to them, sex is like a handshake. It means nothing to them. And it doesn't matter what gender you are. They don't even have a word for gay or straight. It's just basically, everything's fair game. And I like writing for them, because they honestly don't understand what the big deal is when somebody says, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" "What do you mean, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with you?" And I enjoy that, because you kind of see both sides. One, you kind of see that there are hangups about sexuality that we still haven't overcome. And two, that on the other hand, being so sexually liberated also has its problems as well, because one of the characters says, one of them says, I'm jealous of you, because it's everybody's fair game, and you can do whatever you want to whoever you want. And he says, well, I'm jealous of you because you guys have such deep emotional connections with each other, and we don't have that. So I don't know. I enjoy stories that show people who are not good, not evil. They just have different values and different goals.
Sure.
And that's really what I set it around. That was, the antagonists. I don't like to call them the bad guys, but the antagonists, I always show where they're coming from. And the antagonists are honestly doing what they think is best for the people that they're fighting against, because they don't think that we are smart enough or evolved enough to take care of ourselves, and so they have to take care of us. Why are they shooting at us? Why don't they just let us come in and take over? And we're trying to do what's best for them. And that's an attitude that never changed. There's never a whoa moment. It's, I'm not a monster. Just let us come and take care of you. You're so savage. You're so primitive. We have all the answers for you.
Hey, you know what? If those camp counselors weren't having sex while Jason drowned, we would never have Friday the 13th, and Jason would not be the unstoppable killing machine that he is.
Exactly. And you know what? Jason Voorhees is a force of morality, because he always goes after the ones that are doing the bad things. Yep. If you would just stay in your tent, do what you're supposed to do, and remain a virgin, don't do drugs and don't drink, he would leave you alone.
There you go. And that's the the Randy Meeks, How to Survive a Horror Movie thing. I mean, that's exactly what happens.
Exactly.
You love writing as much as I do.
I do. I wish I had more time to do it. That's the thing that's kept me from writing the second book. And I know the story. I know the story I want to tell is actually going to be like 3 short stories in one book. And I've written maybe 30 pages of it, and it's set at 30 pages now for about 3 years.
The gentleman that wrote the play that I'm directing, I've been working hand in hand with him, and it's kind of cool watching something come up from nothing. I was the opportunity to direct this show was dropped in my lap. My girlfriend was directing another show at our local theater, and she was asked to direct. She couldn't, so it fell into my lap. And it's an LGBTQ story at heart. It's about a girl that is most likely going to be transitioning, or feels that she should be transitioning to the boy that she feels like. And she wants to go find her mother in Alaska. And the play, and this is something a wordsmith would love, that is titled Alas and Alack in Alaska.
I love it.
Whew. It's phenomenal. It's 40 pages phenomenal, but it is phenomenal. And the writer, Jonathan, told me exactly what the plans were for other episodes, if you will, of this play. And it blew my mind, because I had to go back when he told me intent. And as a writer myself, when I read something, I try my best to not miss anything, because I like to know. I'm also one of these people that go to the end of a book and read the end and then go back to the beginning to figure out how they got there, which is a really neat thing for a writer to do.
Oh, absolutely.
it helps me hone my craft. Like I want to watch the finale of a show before I watch the beginning. But when he told me and I had to go back, I was like, oh my God, I missed like 3 key points that now I need to give to my actors, and we need to fix stuff, because I don't want, if he does this again, does another one or another 2, I want the story to remain true. So I want the characters that these people are creating to be true. So I've sat down with him. He sat down with my actors. They were nervous at first. You know, we're going to be portraying these people that you've been holding in your head forever. That kind of thing. And it's been a wonder to watch this all come to life. So, you know, when you're able to sit down, keyboard to screen or pen on paper, it's an amazing feeling. And I know I can say that because I wrote a novel as part of National Novel Writing Month in 2010. And
that's where my book came from. Yeah.
Did it come from NaNoWriMo?
Yeah, it did.
Nice.
Yeah, it did.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I like that. We win nothing. We might get like 30% off of, you know, Scrivener.
We get a certificate we can print and frame as long as we buy the printer and, you know, buy the frame.
Exactly.
Yes.
Someone told me that once years ago, there's no way you can write a book in 30 days. You can write a book in 30 days. You just can't complete and publish the book in 30 days. That's not going to happen. And if you do, chances are it's not great. I've been rewriting Press Between Pages for 12 years. I turned the center of it into a 1-act play that won a playwright festival. Watching these characters come to life and letting them go was like letting my children go. You know, so when someone reads your words,
what you mean, yes.
You know, you put it out there and then you watch your first Amazon review come in and you're like, this guy sucks as a writer. This guy, angry keyboard guy, you know, and it's so easy. And it hurts. It's like, oh my God, it's like you yelled at my child who had like a disfigurement. My God, you know, Jesus. But they're like real people. And my children, thankfully, understand that kind of thing. And, you know, that's kind of why I think they try to walk with a certain kindness and treat everybody the same. They're all allies. And it's at least I know I did right. But they call me out when I'm stupid. They wanted to know why I got on TikTok when, you know, they found out Dad was on TikTok. And I said to keep an eye on you. And then I realized my algorithm was 15-year-old girls. And I was like, well, this ain't the app for me. We're going to let that go. So
I'll get you on a list somewhere.
Exactly. You know, so, and I hear that like TikTok knows your searches. If you search for the wrong thing too many times, they will boot you off the platform. Like they know everything.
Oh, goodness.
So I was like, hey, okay. You know, so I usually, well, with the girls, I was like, you know what, the hell with it. I trust you enough to know that you're not posting like, I didn't know if TikTok could have nudity or anything else. So I was like, I just don't want this stuff on there. So I paid no attention to it. And then I opened it up one day in 2020, 2021, and like really funny people were on it and cats. And I started liking the right things and, you know, following people and I still haven't gotten the like thing down right. I mean, like technically there should be a heart for me on every one of your videos. And sometimes I just forget, especially when I'm rabbit holing on a Sunday.
I do too. I forget to like videos.
Like I forget to like that. Oh, yeah. Well. But yeah, it's now it's completely different again. Adults have taken it over. We've kind of ruined it, but it's over for you. I did want to ask you before we wrap everything up, because I know you've given me an hour and 15 of your time, and it's getting late, so I do so appreciate that. Let's talk about the Orville for a second, because first of all, your voices, you have a very Seth MacFarlane-like quality about you. There's something that was almost Shatner. There's something on the wing.
There's something about you. I just don't know what it is.
Right.
I don't know what it is, but I don't like it.
No, I want it. I want more of it. But yeah, I mean, Seth MacFarlane, and I've watched, you know, different interviews with him where he'll just float voice to voice to voice to voice to voice. And he's just such a funny guy. He's a relatable guy. And but most of all, he's a genuine guy. And he doesn't shy away from anything.
No,
he's one of the people that I want to meet, and he'll probably be a douchebag. That's probably what's going to happen.
Most likely, yes. But you know, never meet your heroes. But he's never been a hero to me, so that's fine.
So the Orville comes out, Now, here's what we know at that time. We know that Family Guy creator came out with basically I'm going to call it a Star Trek knockoff. Now,
Yes. Well, it was more of a parody tribute back then.
yes,
I think that the meme had Bender, saying, well, I'll just make my own Star Trek with blackjack and hookers. And yeah, it was Star Trek with pee-pee jokes, and it was fine. It was fine.
It's like I relate. I can equate this with me going to see Book of Mormon, one of the best Broadway musicals of all time. If you haven't seen it or you can't see it, get the cast album and just listen to it. It's phenomenal. I love things that make fun of religion because I am very agnostic.
Mm-hmm.
And the shittiest people in the world that I know are unfortunately Christian. So I try not to. There you go. There's the acknowledgement. Trey Parker and Matt Stone had made this musical. I was like, this is going to be heavenly. This is going to be incredible. And it was gut-bustingly funny. So Seth MacFarlane, all of a sudden, we know Seth MacFarlane pulls no punches. It doesn't matter. You could be Jewish, you could be deaf, you could be whatever. Guess what? He might just make fun of you. And he wrote one of the best songs in motion picture history about mustaches. I mean, come on. So he makes this Star Trek knockoff. Now, Jason's sitting at home. What's Jason thinking when he hears this?
I'm thinking, first of all, oh boy, I want to see this. And for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I do kind of think that for the last few episodes in the third season, the show's kind of rebranded itself as more serious science fiction. And I think it's lost something. And I spent 3 weeks just trashing it, just saying, this is nothing but great value Star Trek. It's not even an homage anymore. It's a straight up ripoff. Look at this last episode. This is here's the all powerful entity messing with people. Oh, that's Q, and who watches the Watchers, and Sherlane. That's all of them rolled together. And then the fourth episode comes along, and the fourth episode was phenomenal in every way. I watched in rapt attention from beginning to end, and whenever it was over with, I just thought that was good science fiction right there. It had humor in all the right places. I mean, Isaac walking onto the holodeck thing that they have with the mustache and the cowboy hat was just a great visual gag. And the left turn into the Krill basically being MAGA was brilliant. And I just loved this last episode so much that now I feel kind of bad, but not really, over the last 3 weeks, for saying that the Orville had kind of lost its identity. I still stand by that, but I have hope now that it's getting that identity back, because I really do like the show. It sounds like I don't, and I understand if people think that I don't like the Orville. I do, but I like what the Orville started out as and not what it became. And I hope that it's coming back.
The one thing that I do really appreciate about that show is that more so than any other, well, I mean, Star Wars has kind of the same sort of thing, but the different races of aliens that are all coexisting on the ship, all in peace, they're part of the Federation, all that stuff going on. And one of the funniest things was Norm Macdonald.
It's 'cause I'm gelatinous, isn't it? You guys can't handle the thought of a gelatinous person in charge of a department.
Yaphet, that is not it.
This is so racist, man. You're so friggin' racist.
I am not. I have several gelatinous friends.
This is a bunch of crap, man. This is total crap. Permission to return to duty.
God rest his soul.
R.I.P. Norm. That still hurts. It was so sudden, and that just hurts.
And then to have to do the first episode, and I think he actually showed up in the second episode of this season. To do those 2 episodes without him was just But I mean, I loved the social commentary. I think the social commentary throughout the show up until this season, at least for the first 3 episodes. I have not seen episode 4, so I know you told a little bit.
Won't say a thing.
But the social commentary up until then had been, I mean, it's really, really serious, with Bortus and everything else. And Bortus, by the way, one of the funniest characters I've seen in ever. I mean,
I have to agree.
He's
just so great,
incredible, and
it's so effortless too.
Lieutenant Malloy taught me this song. I will now sing it. Oh! You will be silent! But I do not want that piece.
What's wrong with it?
I want a corner piece.
Because you want a flower?
Yes. Please cut me a corner piece before someone comes.
Hey, Borders, have some cake, man. It's good.
I hate this party.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the actor who plays Bortus, but he makes it look so easy. And yes. I think that's really the hallmark is that, anybody's, well, I could play Bortus. No, you could not. Nope. It takes a pro to do what that actor does.
When you have someone that is as articulate and smart and everything else like that in a show, and there's these moments that are just there to make him hilarious. But the social commentary between, the not having the right sex child, and
yes, that was all of the phenomenal episode as well.
Yeah. I mean, that was like heavy hitting stuff. And yet in between you're laughing. And then Isaac is just, again, and Gina pointed this out to me, and I hadn't even realized it, that I loved it so much until I was like, yes, I do love that. The hand movements by Isaac in the show when he's typing or he's doing anything.
It's very fluid.
Yes. It broke my heart when I thought that he was, spoiler alert, when he was dead in the first episode, but also when he was as evil as he was at the end of last season. And I really, really hope, even though I know it can't be really true, I'm interested to see if McFarlane or any of the other writers, the showrunners, come up with anything, is I feel as if he's starting, like if they broke open his chest right now, there would be a heart beating in there. And I don't know why. I know that would be symbolic, but there's something almost like how the machine becomes real, it becomes that kind of thing. There's just something in there that I'm hoping happens. The sex thing with Claire, that was weird.
that was weird. Yes. Not as weird as Claire and Yaphet though. That was
was super weird. Again, rest in peace, Norm Macdonald. Yes. Very, very good work. Still weird. And he's up there going, yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
That was weird.
I'm kind of ashamed of that, to be honest.
They
want to talk about a voice actor who just, you want to talk about an effortless actor right there. Yeah. It's just every single thing he did. He used the same voice in every part, but every part was so hilarious. I don't know if you ever watched the Mike Tyson mysteries, but he played this character named Pigeon, who was a pigeon. A man turned into a pigeon.
Seriously? You're kicking me out of your house because of your fucking bites? You were the fucking heavyweight champion of the world, and now you can't stand a little itching? You can't put some goddamn calamine lotion on there? Well, fuck you.
And just the most foul things came out of this bird's mouth, but at the same time, because it was Norm Macdonald's voice,
right,
you loved him.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. And they canceled the show probably about a week before Norm passed away, and my headcanon is they were going to do another season and they knew Norm wasn't going to make it, so they're just like, no, if Norm can't be there, we're not going to do the show, which I think was a good call.
I'm gonna go find a better place to live. Without a fucking shitty ghost.
Hey.
With a fucking hot Asian. I thought you people were my friends. I hope y'all die.
It's funny. One of my favorite, and this makes sense at the end, but one of my favorite rides in Disney World is the Carousel of Progress. It is probably, without a doubt, my favorite ride. I could ride that all day and be completely happy.
It's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
Well, I love the Sherman Brothers. Love the Sherman Brothers.
Oh, absolutely.
Just brilliant. There's a kid out there too that does the Sherman Brothers would love him. He does these Disney medleys and he keeps popping up in my feed. I ended up following him and he's brilliant. He's stupid good. I forget what his name is though, and that makes me feel horrible, but oh well.
Is he the one who does the the acapella where he's like in all the different squares, or am I thinking of somebody else?
No, that's somebody else, but I know who you're talking about there.
Okay.
He's usually sitting at his piano and he's just doing this whole, Disney thing. Sometimes he does parody songs, which is tough. But anyway,
once I've seen him, I'll have to keep my eye open, see if maybe he shows up on my feed one of these
maybe
days.
he might, now that we're talking about it, because TikTok's watching.
Yes.
I
like guys doing videos of like Disney songs.
Now TikTok just banned you.
Yeah. It's like,
but no, the
you
voice...
like guys. Oh, well, okay.
No,
no, that's not what I. Oh, wait a minute.
Yes. The guy that does the voice of Carousel of Progress actually sounds like he could be Norm Macdonald. I actually was so
never even thought about that.
Triggered. Like if you go back and watch the YouTube video of the guy talking.
Yes, sir. Buildings are towering now as high as 20 stories. And moving pictures flicker up on a big screen.
I had to go look. I was like, I'm getting out my phone on Carousel of Progress. I'm like, oh shit, I can't do that. But it is such a great ride. I love it. Twilight Zone, Tower of Terror, and that I could ride those two.
I love Twilight Zone.
Long.
Yes.
You put Rod Serling on a damn freaking, I'm going to call it a roller coaster. It's not, but you put him on a ride with me, I'm happy as a pig in shit. I mean, all day long. Like people say, I'd love to sit down with Jesus. I want to sit down with Jesus and Elvis. And that's who I want on my dinner table. I want Rod Serling, man. Give me Rod Serling. Let me talk to him for an hour. Taken away way too soon. Twilight Zone, even the shitty episodes are almost better than almost anything they have on TV today.
Oh, I love the Twilight Zone. It's amazing.
Obsolete Man.
This is not a new world. It is simply an extension of what began in the old one. It has patterned itself after every dictator who has ever planted the ripping imprint of a boot on the pages of history since the beginning of time. It has refinements, technological advances, and a more sophisticated approach to the destruction of human freedom. But like every one of the superstates that preceded it, it has one iron rule. Logic is an enemy and truth is a menace. Any state, any entity, any ideology that fails to recognize the worth, the dignity, the rights of man, that state is obsolete. A case to be filed under M for Mankind.
Oh, the social commentary that came out of that. And even the newer ones. I think some of the newer ones got a little bit, too social commentary-y. Like everything doesn't have to have, I don't know, reason.
Yeah, I was not a huge fan of Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone, which is a strange thing because I think Jordan Peele is a genius, but just for some reason, that show just never came together for me. There were a couple of episodes in the second season that I thought were really good. And for the life of me, I cannot remember what they were. But for the most part, I really thought that show was just a mess. And it was so disappointing because there was so much talent behind it.
I like the first remake. And it was like, I'm going to say, mid-'80s? On CBS.
Oh yeah, that one was a good
Twilight Zone, and one of the episodes had one of my favorite actors ever, Danny Kaye.
That was the last test, Billy. Oh, how well you passed. You know I've been testing you, don't you, my friend?
And then there was another one called Her Pilgrim Soul.
When you are old and gray, full of sleep.
This is one life. How many loved your moments of glad grace? And loved your beauty with love, false or true? But one man loved the pilgrim soul in you. And loved the sorrows of your changing face.
And so good. I watched the first episode of the new one with the plane crash and all that stuff, and it was okay until
the remake of Nightmare at 20,000 feet, and then they changed everything and not for the best. It was really weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where if you have to shoehorn things into anything, it doesn't matter what it is. So I'm not getting. I'm not trying to offend anybody there, but if you have to shoehorn things just to make a point or be relevant or not be canceled or whatever the thing might be, it becomes an issue. I mean, it's tough. I mean,
Yes.
I'm all for social commentary, but social commentary for the sake of social commentary is not right to me, nor is progress for the sake of progress. That's not how things should be in my eyes. I think that's kind of how we got to where we are today. So I am going to include links for everything. You have your link tree. Everything is going to be underneath there.
Awesome.
Guys out there, my listeners, please go love. There's only love. So you have no choice but to love the man. You have to love what he does.
I'm very needy.
He's very needy. Give him a follow on TikTok. Give him a follow on YouTube, Instagram. All his social network links will be below this video. If you're listening to the podcast, they will be in the description of the podcast. Jason, thank you so much for bringing and creating happiness for so many people out there. It means the world to a lot of people. And, I'm sure that you've hit people the right way on their darkest days, and you've made people smile. And I think that's all that we want to kind of do as creators, is give people that place to go and forget about things for a while. And you've done that. So thank you for that. Thank you for being on my show. It meant the world to me. I'm glad that you reached right back out to me after I reached out to you. And I really appreciate it.
Well, like I said, I'm a very needy person.
There you go. I'm needy too. We could be needy together.
All right. Well, let's be needy together. It has been my complete pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. And to my listeners, I love you all. We will talk very soon. This was the third part of the creator series. We will also be having Brett James Bishop up in the upper corner, the writer of the new, well received Halloween fan film. We will also be having Grace and Jim from Rise and Right coming on. They are the creators of the Creator Plus movie, Diamond in the Rough. Make sure that you go and support that. Support all your local creators, support local art. I love you all. I will see you soon, and I am out. Good night, everybody.